Hi, I'm James Davies, and I'll be discussing today the decision-making behind Toyota's decision to cease production of cars in Australia in 2017. Toyota is an automotive manufacturer that was founded in 1937 in Japan. It started producing cars for manufacture in Australia in 1963. Australia was always an outpost for Toyota. It was never a part of its core. So this means it did not have the nationalistic obligation to its citizens of Australia to stay. Now to the theories. The theories that will be present in this presentation is the meta-organisation challenge to strategic decisions, risk and uncertainty to mitigate risk, and forecasting. Toyota's decision to leave Australia relies on multiple financial factors, chief being the high price of Australian labour and the many bureaucratic hurdles that stood in the way of a more effective management and emergence of different markets on which cars could be made. So, how the main factor of the decision to move away from Australia can be related back to decision making is that this action is related to meta-organisation, whereby external factors influenced the decision. The usual way in which this is used to challenge strategic decisions with individual, group, and organisations as a factor in why strategic planning can be affected. However, this factor is applicable to Toyota's decision because the external market factors greatly influence the decision. Another meta-organisational factor that is often cited as a reason for removing themselves from Australia is a lack of involvement with the Australian government amid the rising Australian dollar and thus creating a space where it is not economically viable to stay in Australia. This relates to how Toyota used risk and uncertainty to their advantage as they forecast the downturn in profits as other places of manufacture became apparent. This risk and uncertainty was used to their advantage in seeking the desired outcome by drawing from the past with the trend of other car manufacturers like Ford and Holden General Motors closing their manufacturing in Australia. They used forecasting to predict the downturn in profits, as well as realizing that pulling out of Australia would cost less than to remain, which includes paying for the university education of their former employees so they could find other jobs. Not only new market avenues and external factors are why Toyota pulled their factories, because around this time, the Toyota company was planning to create a fully automated manufacturing plant, but in Japan, not Australia. And this manufacturing plant would not need to deal with wages and the legalities associated with employees, as well as trivial expenses such as lighting. This relates back to the factor of organizational trend, and this is a similar factor as the meta-organization. However, this time it is an internal force rather than an exterior one made from within the company, not outside. So in conclusion, there was a myriad of reasons as to why Toyota pulled out of Australia. The chief being that, of course, the higher Australian dollar and expenses. Thank you for listening.